hello everyone. Welcome to the college football version of Proline. I'm John Cranton, joined by Jeff Sod and Sean Hess, direct from Las Vegas, the gaming capital of the world, also the Paris of the desert. We're going to talk about a couple of college football games coming up for the weekend. First, let's tell you about what we've had for the weekend.
The citadel of bookmaking.
The Taj Mahal.
The Taj Mahal of money.
Jeff, for the weekend, your top play are these blockbuster plays. They're your high roller plays. You don't give them out very often, once a week or maybe once every other week. Well, you're 32-14 with these runs, with these blockbusters going back to last week. And Saturday, you had the Houston Cougars. Now, they were a big favorite over an SEC team. I looked at that game and said, I don't know about that. However,
wire to wire.
Absolute blowout.
Wire to wire. Good call.
Game?
Well, it was SEC team, but it was also Vanderbilt, so that's why it made it easy for me. I thought with Houston's offense and the Vanderbilt defense, that's overrated because of the schedule they play so far. So I thought it was a clear, easy pick, which I can't say very often. But it wasn't my blockbuster, and it won 34-0. I wish all of them were that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Feist certainly enjoyed the weekend. 11-4-1 run, had terrific run with high rollers, as well as another conference game of the year. That was not a conference game of the year, but it was a shocker of the year. That was Washington State, big dog to Stanford, and it was close all the way, and they got the money. You can find Jim's plays at jimfeist.com or call 1-855-846-7426. All right, before we got a couple of games to talk about, let's go through the weekend, NFL and college. Sean, I know Sunday was an interesting game for the books, and they made maybe a little extra coin.
Well, I think they did better than a little extra coin. And some of the live movements, you take a look at like the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. Both teams at some point were favored. Cincinnati actually opened up -1.5, and then were +1 and 1.5, wound up pick'em. Close game after all, really. Cincinnati, what's his name, the running back, Jeff Bell, is that it for Pittsburgh, was out in the second, out in the second quarter, so that probably didn't help them at all. But Cincinnati, always trying to get over the hump. Now they're undefeated. First time, I think, even going back to the Boomer days in Cincinnati when they had these great teams, went to the Super Bowl once and lost to the 49ers, but they covered the year they did that.
They went there twice, too.
Yeah, went there, well, not under Boomer, but they did go. Chris Collinsworth was, 1980 or 81 when they
Super Bowl.
played San Francisco. Yeah. And then, of course, what about the Green Bay game? At 2.5, the players laid the 2.5, and then at 3, they took Denver plus the 3, and the game was never close. I think it was 17-0 early in the second quarter, Jeff, if I remember right. Green Bay was just totally unprepared for the game. The thing about that the books like about that is the teaser only had one side that won. You had to, what they don't like is when you tease both sides of the game and both of them drop in the middle. But this game, they made money on because they had the books balanced. They go to 2.5. The players took Green Bay, go to 3. They took Denver, back and forth, and 29-10 was never even close.
Yeah, it was totally
never even close. And how about the Oakland Raiders?
I mean, alive.
Are we haven't been to since the Super Bowl with Barrett? Was it Barrett?
The center, yeah.
The center screwed up and they got blown out by Tampa Bay. In fact, they were favored in that game. This has got to be at least 10 or 11, 12 years ago. And they hadn't even been in a playoff game since. And now they're looking pretty, they're playing better. They were a home dog to the Jets, looking better. And I don't see them unseating Denver, but you never know. But they look a whole lot better. That quarterback is playing very well.
Yeah, didn't the money go on the Jets that game?
Money, actually, let me see. How about the Jets opened 1.5, 2.5, went to 3, went back to 2.5, closed at 2.5. So, yeah, the money pretty much went on the Jets. There was some buyback later. The wise guys will do that. But the game was never close. 34-20 was the final. But I think 21-3 sound right or something like that?
The final?
Jeff, I always go to Jeff.
34-20.
No, in the first half. I mean, when they first started out, they were up
still
big.
One-sided, yeah.
Yeah, one-sided, and then they just coasted the rest of the way. I thought Darryl LaMonica had come back, but nope, turns not.
So you're saying the public was really blind this week?
Yeah, this week they didn't do well. They did well in the Seattle game. And why they keep, and I'm doing the same thing too. I thought Seattle would be the side at this number, but it opened 5.5, actually went up to 6. Then sat around 5.5 and actually closed at 4.5, so there was some late buyback. But Seattle, in my opinion, was lucky to win that game. And we're talking Dallas with a second string, maybe by now the third string quarterback. So
Dallas is never a good play as a favorite home, but as underdog,
yeah,
they usually
as an
are.
underdog, yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I heard a rumor that you and the referees had the Miami Hurricanes on the money line. Is that accurate?
I had inside information. What can I say? It just that play.
How many were there? 8, 9?
8 laterals, and obviously it was similar to the Cal Stanford game back in 1982, I think.
I think that was
82,
35 laterals, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I
Some
think that-
band guy almost
the
got
trombone
killed.
guy.
Yeah, the trombone guy almost got
I
killed.
think that one of the guys was down and they didn't call it, and there was some
Yeah.
was some slipping, and then I think they suspended the officials. But the main thing from a handicapping standpoint, of course, it didn't matter with the point spread, but it did with the money line, of course. But I mean, next week Duke has to play at North Carolina, with their biggest rival, and I just wonder how they can recover from that in that short a time. While even at the same time, North Carolina is playing great right now. So, as a matter of fact, I'll give it up right now. My best bet on the show won't be the two games we're doing, but I'm just going to be North Carolina next week minus the points against Duke.
Look out! Whoa, leaping out
Early
there.
run.
Let me write that. How do you spell North Carolina?
UNC.
UNC, right.
The team I'll talk about is Virginia Tech, because I had them on Saturday, although I didn't realize that Beamer was going to be announcing his retirement. But look, they got 3 games left. It's a good team. Quarterback position has been the problem, but defense is fantastic. Here they are with a 4-5 record. They covered against BC easily, 26-10.
Short number, too.
And they're a team to look at, I think, for the next 3 weeks. You're 4-5, so you get a shot at the bowl. It is a very talented, great defense, which will keep them in all these games. Plus, there's now this element of win one for Beamer.
And he's been there, like 35 years? I mean, it's a long time.
Like
since
Methuselah,
yeah.
he's been there for.
Yeah,
He
he's
probably
been
should have
there.
retired 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he was great, and he put the program. He was kind of like the K-State guy, Kansas State. He put that program
Yeah,
on the map.
exactly.
Beamer did. So
this extra incentive, which you're always looking for this time of year in emotion and going bowls, and they're talented enough to make a run to
So
win.
win one for the geezer. Is that what
Yeah.
it is? Win one for the geezer, or the
And,
Gipper, or whatever it is.
They're on a 3-1 run under the total anyway.
Yeah.
I could see that continuing with this defense.
Yeah.
And they had 2 games that they lost that were very close. So it's a
Well, for
team
years,
better
I don't know if he still does it, but for years he personally coached the special teams.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah,
that
put
was his
best
forte.
players on.
It wasn't just defense. He personally coached the special teams, and of course, that's a lot of times that's how they won their games, was because they had enough offense and their special teams were just terrific.
That's right. All right, let's get into one of our Big 12 matchups for the Saturday. What a phenomenal showdown here. TCU against Oklahoma State. Here we are in November, a pair of 8-0 teams clashing against each other. This is just a terrific matchup. Here's some of the early betting numbers. TCU on the road opened a 5-point favorite. 72% of the early bets were on them, and the total too went up from 77 to 79 very quickly. So they're looking at a high-scoring game. TCU 8-0 straight up, but they haven't been involved in a lot of close games. They do have a quarterback in Trayvon Boykin, a senior who's certainly in the running for a Heisman Trophy.
Stud.
Yeah, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He can even run the football. They were supposed to be great this year. They were great last year, and they had so many guys coming back. And they have been outside of one thing, and that's the defense. Sean, when you look at this TCU team, the defense has been up and down. I have to wonder, have you been playing the middle linebacker for them at times?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll be out of gas in the first quarter doing all that running. Let's look at this. TCU, I'll just go with the AP polls. TCU ranked number 5, and they are a 5-point favorite, and it's been solid. Now, you're saying, and I saw that same number, 72% of the money's going on. 72% of the bets. That doesn't mean
Bets,
it's the
yes.
money. But the line is still sitting there at 5, hadn't moved. So I don't know whether it's too early yet or there's not a lot of big action on this game. I think it's a marquee matchup. Number 12, Oklahoma State. The game will go at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Fox is going to cover it. I looked up the weather on this game. As far as I thought the total would be in the 80s. I don't know what Jeff thought, but I thought the total would be at least 82 or 3. And it opened 77, went right away to 79. And as we look on I don't know if it's going to go up any higher, but I got to believe it will. The weather's very good for this. So we're talking about a dry up in Stillwater. This game's going to be at Oklahoma State, which is in Stillwater, Oklahoma. TCU, like you said, 8-0 straight up, but just 4-4 against the house. So it's not like they're making anybody money. They win by 24 points a game, but their average line as a favorite is -21. So they don't give you a lot of room. They really don't want you betting TCU. They make it tough for you to do it. Average posted total in their games is 70, but this team can hang 50 on anybody. I mean, anybody. They play better at home. They do play better at home. On the road, TCU just 1-3 against the number. In fact, I think their only cover was their last game. TCU not known for defense. They give up 25 points a game, and they give up 34 points a game on the road. Average margin of victory as a visitor is just 10 points a game. This is a big number here, 5. TCU won last year at Oklahoma State 42-9 as a home favorite at 10.5. So Oklahoma State has revenge at home. I tend to look at that. TCU, Oklahoma State, TCU, Oklahoma State, and Baylor, all undefeated in Big 12 play. So this is going to be the beginning to see who's going to come out of here. TCU senior, and we talked about the differences, and I think Jeff will probably elaborate on this a bit more. We've talked about veteran leadership in college football versus these great talents like the UCLA quarterback, Texas A&M quarterback, who have great talent, but they don't have the experience in these big games. Let me see, what is his name? Boykin, a senior quarterback, Boykin, 28 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. He was great last year. He had 33 touchdown passes, only 10 interceptions. And Boykin can run the football. He's very athletic. TCU also has 2 running backs who can run the football. TCU is rested. They're coming off a home win, 40-10 over West Virginia as a 14-point home favorite. That was 9 days ago. This is a major game for Oklahoma State, and they are a home dog with revenge, and I do look at that. But again, Oklahoma State 8-0 straight up. They're just 4-4 against the bookie. They won and covered their last 3 games, however, so they're coming on a beat. They just beat Texas Tech as a road favorite at 2.5, but 70-53. I mean, Texas Tech hung 53 on them here. What do you think TCU is going to put on them? A tough road for Oklahoma State. First of all, they got to play Baylor and Oklahoma in their last 2 games. But they play them at home, but still, that's a tall order. They need to win this game here to have any kind of shot to go anywhere. A sophomore, quarterback Mason Rudolph. 12 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. Those are hardly great numbers. And how about that second stringer? Jeff, what's his name? J.W. Walter. 23 passing attempts, 18 completions, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. I wonder who the starter should be here, maybe. Total in this game, like I said, I thought it would be in the 80s. I still think it should. So where's the edge here? When we talk about this, as far as I'm concerned, this is where to go. It's at the quarterback position. We got a veteran quarterback with terrific numbers. He's got some running backs too. It's tough laying points in this particular kind of game. You know, Oklahoma State's going to show up. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the Temple game, which I misread last week against Notre Dame, where Notre Dame just got out-coached. I don't know that coaching's going to matter here. They're just going to go up and down the field. It's tough to lay points to an offense that has no defense, but this team can just score at will. I'm going to say TCU wins this game, and probably by 10, maybe even more. The edge of quarterback is just so great that I would have to take TCU in this game, Jeff.
Well, this TCU team has won 16 straight games. That is second only to Ohio State's 21-0 run. And while they have some good defensive games, God, they gave up 52 at Texas Tech, 45 at Kansas State. It's been an up and down defense. And this Oklahoma State team is really a fascinating team. Most coaches who say, well, I'm going to use 2 quarterbacks, normally that means they don't have one, but that's not really the case with this Cowboy team. Mason Rudolph has some pretty good numbers, and J.W. Walsh comes in goal line situations, and he's been phenomenal, as you pointed out. But then there's this Cowboy defense. I mean, look, they won 30-27 at Texas. They beat K-State 36-34. They went to West Virginia, won 33-26. And then even the Texas game last week, 70-53 final, but it was, 56-53 in the fourth quarter. That was a close one. So, you know, Jeff, the Cowboys are 8-0, but I wonder, are they more lucky than the good?
Yeah, Mike Gundy is one of my favorite coaches because his games are always exciting and they're never out of it. I had Oklahoma State on Saturday against Texas Tech. They were down by 17 points, and I really wasn't that worried. I had figured they're going to come back, and they'll probably win and cover, and of course they did. That's why it's always hard for me to go against Oklahoma State because they're never out of it. It seems
short number though for that particular game.
Yeah,
so.
Well, yeah. Trevon Boykin broke TCU's career record for total offense. You know who the previous quarterback, whose record he broke?
Dalton.
Andy Dalton, of course, yeah. I guess
Who can't win a playoff game in the NFL, but he was great
this year, though, he could do it.
Yeah,
this could be the year. Boykin was 32 of 47 for 388 yards, 3 TDs versus West Virginia. He also had 84 yards rushing. TCU's won 16 games in a row. Not only does quarterback can make the difference in this game, as Sean said, the defense, TCU had a ton of injuries at the beginning of the season on defense too, but still, tells you what a great coach Gary Patterson is. They've recovered, and they're actually doing relatively well. Just 10 points they gave up against West Virginia, 21 against Iowa State. So I think as the quarterback and the defense could be the difference in this game. Oklahoma State's 2 quarterbacks, neither one is as good as Boykin, but when you put them both together, they're pretty productive. Rudolph was 21 of 35, 285 yards, 2 TDs. J.W. Walsh probably outplayed him, 247 yards, enough total offense. So It's not going to be a play for me. But if I had to take one,
Come on, step
We're
up.
gonna force
Make
you.
a call here. Be a man.
I'm gonna. Okay, I'll take a slight
Slight lean.
lean toward TCU.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to be a play. Definitely not a big play.
A slight lean. He's going to say TCU 56-10, but
Yeah, right.
not a slight lean.
56-50 or something.
That's a slight lean. Right. So.
Well, we'll have a pro line contest right now. If TCU, if Andy Dalton does not win a playoff game this year, you can win a date with Sean Hess because I'm guaranteed
That's
that
worth standing in line for.
they're too good not to this year. But for this game, I think this total is too high. I think the odds makers have made it.
I
too
find
high.
that hard to believe.
No. And here's a couple
You're
of
looking
reasons
for
it.
2-0 in overtime? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Exactly. No, there will be some field goals, and but, I don't know about some saves. No, but this is a very high total. They're looking at both teams to score about 40 points. It's a marquee game. These defenses aren't that bad. They have had some bad games, but they also have had some good games too. Last year the total was 62. It went under in a 42-9 game, and Oklahoma State only had 258.
Favorite was 10.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, you know. Here's the
258
question, John.
total yards for the Cowboys. And here's the thing: when the Cowboys score 40 points or more, they're 8-3-1 under the total. The next game, as the odds makers can go too far. And after a straight-up win, they're 7-4 under the total. And TCU defense was phenomenal against them a year ago. And as bad as the TCU defense has been up and down this year, they're still on a 3-1 run currently under the total. And for the season, as bad as the Oklahoma State defense has been at time, they're 4-4 over and under. So I think they've made it too high on the total. I'm looking at both teams to score maybe 35-30 in that range. So I'll be looking at under the total in this showdown.
Okay, one more thing. If you know these propositions that come out of some of these marquee games, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you had to put a number on the number of punts that there will be in this game, what would it be? 2?
3.5.
2.5.
No, 3.5.
And you
3.5
take
would be
the
good.
under, right? I mean, how many times are they going to kick the ball? Unless there's just a lot of turnovers or something like that, they should up and down the field. I see this up and down.
Well, when I see two teams that are 8-0 like this, I can't imagine the defenses are going to say, let's just take the afternoon off.
Yeah, right.
They got to have some pride. Say, we want to keep these unbeaten strings alive. I think there'll be better defense than what the odds makers are anticipating.